Good afternoon, all. CamelbackTrading.org coming to you this Friday afternoon, June 28th. Looking at Window Traders market profile of ES and NQ. So I put ES and NQ in bigger increments. A lot to talk about. I want to go over today and then the charts and everything for the end of the quarter, and more importantly, the half year. Very interesting day today. We make an all-time high in ES. But don't get the overnight high, just miss it. We make an all-time high in NQ, miss the overnight all-time high, though still by about 100 points. And then we tried to go trend down in ES, took it back. First we were trying to go trend up early. We end with an outside day down in both ES and NQ. Now, when we go over the charts, for now, all we did for my money's worth now is stretch the balance high. I was very happy we didn't gap open today, one way or the other, because I figured it would give us some really good opportunities. And when A opened and then we started going trend in B, I'm like, this is great. Here we go. We look like we might have a lowest accepted price. We had single prints. We had value higher. We had indices. I'm like, this could be a great day to look for longs on pullbacks. And then they pulled the rug out in D period. Took back the trend day, took back the lowest accepted price, never got the IB high. We got both overnights. And then they spent the whole afternoon really pushing lower. And so we end up with an afternoon rally high, and we went out with a price probe. So it's going to be interesting for Monday. For both of us. Righty is still up and went up on the daily. Righty went up on the daily, and I'm going to keep it up. They went above their balance, and I'm calling them up. However, they also went out with a price probe to the downside after having a price probe to the upside yesterday. And they go out with an afternoon rally high in F. Had an okay day today. I actually had a good day today. I did a lot of work. We're going to go over a long that I turned out to be very fortunate. And I'll tell you why I took it, and it worked. But it took a while. So the first trade I did today was a long against ES's overnight low. They did get the overnight low, but I got paid on it before they got it. Okay? Or they got it. I'm trying to think if I took it off. No, I think I took it off after they got it because it wasn't really pushing. And I took a 1.5 out of it. And then it did go higher. That's right. Then in NQ, I took a short in A period against the 144. We had gotten the overnight low right away. Okay? Wait, you know what? I'm sorry. ES did not get the overnight low at that point. They missed it by a tick. That's right. And I took the long. I took a 1.5 out of it, then went higher. We didn't get the overnight low to F. They had missed. They were weak against it. When NQ got the overnight low, now I was like, well, I'm going to look for shorts early on. And I did take one against the 144, got right above it, took it off for like a 10-point loss or whatever. And thank goodness I did because she started going. When B ripped higher, I'm sorry, not B. When A went higher, I did take one against the single print fill in NQ that was still from the 20th. Made small on that, took it off. I'm like, these shorts, I'm not feeling good about it. So in B period, I got long. I missed the explosion off of B, but I got long to get the overnight high, and then I started ebb and flowing longs very nicely. Had a really good B period. Then in C period, I was doing the same thing against the single prints and everything. But then it came in pretty good. I got long, and I took it off. So I gave back a bunch, which I had made in C period. Still was up on the day, still doing okay. But I did give back a bunch that I made in C period because it came in pretty hard. Obviously, came in, took back the single prints, and stopped the one-time framing. Then I was like, okay, I'm going to be patient. I wasn't sure what they really wanted to do. We didn't have either IB. Early in the day, I said the odds of getting the IB high were definitely better. Obviously, with the value, we were above the opening. You had the indices. You had the overnight high. But obviously that was wrong. So when F came down, I was patient and took 2 shorts. One I thought would eventually get the IB low. It didn't, but I got paid. Went back up, and it started to come back in again, jumped on again, and boom, did well on that. Then in H period, I took a short against the one-time framing down and the 144 in NQ, which made money on that. Now, we were having trouble going anywhere, right? They were pushing but not getting much. So I said, the fact that we can't go trend, the odds of stopping the one-time framing are pretty good. So I started along in I period. Started along in I, no, actually it was H period. Started along in H at 71, right? Yep, 71. Then it went down, and then I opened. I added at 59.50. I'm like, I don't think they're going to go and make a new low before they stop the one-time framing down. Well, they kept pushing, but so I was out on those two. But then I did very well on add-ons, and I'm looking. I have them written down here. I bought 2 at 53, sold them at 57. I bought 3 at 41.50, sold them at 48. I bought 2 at 41, sold those at 46.50. Bought 2 at 34, sold those at 37.50. So the points I was taking off were adding up pretty nicely. But I was also down decent on the other two, which my average price was 65. And then I was like, I can take this off and make like 10 points, even with those other two. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. So I held on. And then J went up, and I took the 2 off at 59. And now we did pop the top, but didn't get much. So I ended up making net 50 points, or a little over 50 points. It was a lot of work for $1,000. It was a lot of work, tremendous amount of work. And it was mentally draining, but it paid. And I'm glad I didn't get stubborn thinking we were really going to go right back up, because at that time, the value was still overlapping higher. We ended up with unchanged value for both of us late in the day. Now, when J went up and didn't get much, same in ES, I was like, okay, maybe good odds we test the lows, but I really wasn't expecting to really get much of a real push down. But we did, especially in M period. Now, it took a while for NQ to take out G's low. They only took it out in M. But ES made new lows in J, K, L, and M. So very interesting. I thought they might have just wanted to get the poor low in ES. Now, so that was my trades. It was a decent day. I didn't do anything after that trade. Did not do anything else. Because I told them, look, when you're not sure, no trade is a trade also. There's no shame, there's no embarrassment, no nothing. You're neutral. Okay? I didn't know M period was going to go rip down. Right? It's the end of the quarter, end of the half year. There's rebalancing going on. I don't know what they really want to do. So I don't want to get involved. So, and I didn't. So, there's no harm in that. Believe me, there's no harm in that. Now, I'm going to give you the destinations, but before we get to the charts, I want to show you on the profile, too, what we'll be looking at, okay? Because I think that will be helpful. So, first off, in ES, the high and the all-time high is 85. You have 88 is the overnight all-time high. Our afternoon rally high is 47.25. Our price probe is 27.50. And today's low, which is a weekly low, is 10.75. In SPY, the all-time high is now 550.28. You still have the overnight, which you should have written down. The afternoon rally high is 546.58. The price probe is 544.58, and today's low, I didn't mark it. Nope, we never got to it. So I'll mark it while we're speaking. Today's low is 542.95. Just give me 1 second. It's not a weekly low though. We didn't take out. We didn't make a new low on the weekly, the way ES did. Right? We held the 25th low in SPY, but in ES, we did not. Okay, just wanted to make sure on that. Yes. So let's pan out. Look at this mess. It's going to be hard to see because I'm in bigger increments. Here's Monday the 17th. That's my balance low. I'm using that. Okay, look at this. Look at this. How the market's attempted to break out to the upside a couple of times, but has failed. Are we going to attempt to take out the 17th low and break out to the downside? It remains to be seen. You know, I keep saying the pot's boiling, the envelope's being stretched, the rubber pushed, the rubber band's being stretched. But believe it or not, we haven't even filled a single print from the 17th, let alone test it. And you have the huge rollover gap below. So I'm not going to declare the bulls dead just yet. It's not a great finish to have an all-time high and then an outside day down. But the fact that we held our overnight as the all-time high tells me there's still business to be done. There's not a lot of excess up there, by the way, at today's regular trade now, all-time high. Now, NQ is a little different. They had more excess at the, today's high, but their overnight high is still 100 points away. I don't think that's going to hold. Now, NQ, the 24th's my balance low now. So we just barely stretched the balance high. So we're going to look at that on the charts now. I thought looking at the profile first would be a bit of a help. Now, I know this is a long video, but end of the quarter, end of the half year, I think it's worth it. This was an interesting day. So here is IWM and the Russell. Look at this. They have a double inside month. So for me, they're in balance for 6 months, with the last 2 of them being inside months. So we'll see if they come out with any energy at some point. But right now it's balanced, firmly balanced on the monthly. The weekly is balanced. This week put the weekly back to balance. Last week's low will be the bottom of it. And then you can either use this week's high or this week's high as the top of it. I mean, would you know, if we take out this weekly high, is that really the important one? Or is this high? Probably that one. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. So the monthly is balanced with 2 inside months in a row. The weekly is balanced. You want to call a 3-week balance or a 7-week balance? It all depends. Again, subjective. The daily, though, is up. The daily came out of that balance. So I'll give the daily their due and call them up. So their 2 longer time frames are in balance, but their shortest time frame is up. Now let's go to NQ and triple Qs. Monthly is very healthy. Very healthy. Still up as we start the third quarter. Now, here's your weekly. Do you want to call a 2-week balance, the last 2 weeks? Or do we incorporate this week? Now, that's pretty far away. It's $12 away. I think I'll call it a 2-week balance. So if we take out this week's low on Monday or next week, I'll call the weekly down. However, I will not ignore this weekly low once we get there, which is June 10th low. That's going to be an important level. Because even though I'd be calling the weekly down, this is the real big one you want to take out if you're a bear. Okay? But again, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Also, where did we close? 478? No. We had a potential for an outside week down. We didn't get it. So the monthly is up. The weekly is balanced for 2 weeks. Now the daily. Look at this whole mess. It's balanced. Okay, I'm going to use the 17th high was the high. Now it's today's high. Remember, we made all-time highs today in Qs, NQ, NASDAQ Composite, SPX, and SPY. Now, the balance will be, today's high is the balance high, and the 24th low is the balance low. So it's a balance of $15. So the monthly's up, the weekly's balanced, the daily's balanced. And then on the S&P, Monthly is the same as NQs, up and healthy. Now here's a difference. We didn't take out last week's low. SPY is still up on the, and ES is still up on the weekly. We did not take out last week's low. So we're one time framing up 4 weeks still. Now, did we just look above last week's high and fail? Well, we certainly looked above it and came in. But nothing's changed yet. Key word, yet. So right now, the weekly for me is still up just like the monthly. However, if we take out these 2 weekly lows, I'm not going to ignore the fact I'm going to probably be looking for shorts because you're going to have 2 weeks of longs on the water. And then the daily, and don't forget, we had an outside day down also in NQ. Now the daily, look at this. Outside day down, just like triple Qs, which I failed to really talk about. Outside day down, there's Qs. And now an NQ. So ES is also that. But ES's balance low is still the 17th low. So that low is 541.61 and the high is 550.28. It's under a $9 balance. This is a pretty tight range, both for ES and NQ. You're going to break out of it at some point. Now, we tried to break out of it to the upside today. Do we go and try to break out of it to the downside? Remains to be seen, right? I don't have a crystal ball. Remains to be seen if we go test that balance low. Keep in mind, this coming week, it's only 3.5 days, but you have jolts Tuesday at 10 a.m. The Fed minutes come out after the market closes on Wednesday. Wednesday's a half day, closes at 1. The Fed minutes come out at 2. So between digesting the Fed minutes and then non-farm payroll Friday morning, Friday could be a very interesting day with probably a lot of traders not trading because they'll take a 4-day weekend or whatever. So it could be a very interesting week next week. Okay? Today's range in ES and SPY was the 7th or 8th? 8th. It was the 8th largest range of the year. So that's good news. The volume even picked up. 73 million. Whoa, we're above average. But again, nothing great. So I still think we're going to get some pretty good movement once we decide which way we're coming out of these balances on both ES and NQ. I hope you had a good out. Again, you know what? Before we do that, I mean, how did we end up the quarter, the half year? Well, let's look. The Dow is just up under 4%. 18% for the NASDAQ Composite, almost 14.5% for the S&P. Transport's down 3%. Righty only up 1%. The NDX up 17%. So a very, very good year, half year so far for both the S&P and the NASDAQ. The Dow, transports, and Righty, without a doubt, are lagging. So here's the question. You got to ask yourself, are they going to catch up to us, meaning the S&P and the NASDAQ, or are we going to revert back down to where they are and pull the market down? Again, I don't have the answer to that. I can't write off the bulls yet. Yeah, it was a horrible day and everything, the way it finished, but the bulls are still in control, especially in the S&P on the monthly and weekly. We'll see if that starts changing next week. Now I hope you have a great weekend. Thank you so much for liking and subscribing. Come check us out at camelbacktrading.org. Stay safe, and we'll speak prior to the opening on Monday.